Oh, there. Hi guys. I was just checking to see if my Wi-Fi was on the right. Right. I was going to call it station. Happy Monday. Okay, this week we are doing an exercise lab, and as you can see down here below, it says I've got it saying the best exercise ever, and the reason being is that it actually works. Well, basically the lower half of your body, especially the glutes. It's the deadlift. Okay, and the reason why I love this exercise is because a lot of women, the moment they lift heavy weights, are like, oh, it's too heavy. However, when you're working with the largest muscle group, which are your glutes here, you can actually lift a lot heavier. And this is a great exercise for your glutes, a little bit of your low back, the core, the hamstrings, basically, like I said, from here down. So let me just go over this exercise. The key to this exercise is staying in neutral position. You might have heard me say this before. Neutral position means wherever your spine goes, your head goes. So your head is an extension of your spine. So when we do a hip hinge, first of all, you want to stand with your legs shoulder width apart and your toes pointing forward. And when you hinge from the hips, it looks like this. My spine still stays flat and my head is still in alignment with the rest of your spine. So if you look at me here and then you look at me here, and my spine is neutral. So it's a hip hinge, and you can see my hips actually go back behind my heels. And when you do it this way, it engages your glutes, it engages your hamstrings, and less into your low back. And the tendency that women have when they do this exercise is a couple of things. Is one, they do a back bend. So you can see my spine is bending, right? And I can actually feel it in my back versus a hip hinge. And then the other one too is letting your shoulders roll in because of the weights in your hands. So when you have weights in your hands, you always want to feel like you're pushing your shoulders down and squeezing those armpits. A good analogy would be putting lemons underneath your armpits and squeezing those lemons underneath your armpits. So when you do this, I'm going to stand a little bit closer so you can see the difference between squeezing your armpits and not squeezing your armpits. So if I squeeze my armpits and I hip hinge, my shoulders are moving. That's how I get that straight spine, that neutral spine. If I don't squeeze my armpits, this is what happens. All of a sudden, you start rolling through the shoulders here. So see how my shoulders start to round in? Okay, this is what we don't want. We want a nice, long, straight spine. So I'm going to grab some weights here, and I'm going to walk you through this exercise. So I've got I love these Bowflex stackable. I don't know if it's called stackable, but anyways, you dial, and then you get the weight that you want. So this way it takes up less space. All right, so I've got like 10 pounds in each hand, which theoretically, for me, it's a little bit light, but this might be a good weight for you guys to start with. So starting with your legs hip width apart, toes pointing forward. So it's always best to check in. People think that they're standing with their toes pointing forward, but they are not, let me tell you, okay? So check in, make sure your legs are parallel and your toes are pointing forward. Roll your shoulder blades back and down and think about squeezing your armpits right here, okay? So if my neutral spine, right now my spine is neutral, so I'm looking straight ahead, right up the horizon. And as I hip hinge, I'm gonna look closer towards the floor. You're not gonna be looking at your toes, you're gonna be looking at, let's say, about 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from you. So inhale here, exhale, hip hinge, squeezing those lemons. And go as low as you feel like, and it depends. Keep your belly button in, and exhale, push off of your heels and squeeze those cheeks together. So the idea here is you want to feel like you're pushing off the floor. So inhale, hip hinge here. Exhale, push off the floor and squeeze those glutes. Inhale, hip hinge here. And exhale, push off and squeeze those glutes. So yeah, the idea here is everybody's range of motion is going to be slightly different. Obviously, the lower you go, the more hamstrings you are going to engage. And the idea here is to squeeze those hips together. And there's different variations of deadlifts. You can take your legs a little bit wide with your toes pointing forward. With your toes pointing wide, shoulders back and down. It's going to feel like more like a barbell. I'm going to hip hinge forward. And I'm going to exhale, squeeze my butt together. I'm going to show it to you sideways so you can see the different variations. But I would definitely start with your feet pointing forward. I'm just giving you guys some options here. Inhale, exhale, shoulders back and down, looking at the horizon, toes pointing out. Inhale, hip hinge. See how my spine stays neutral? The weight is in my heels. Exhale, squeeze your butt together and come back to the top. And that is your deadlift. Now there's different variations of deadlift, but that's the one that I'm going to show you today. So it's important to engage those abs. Oftentimes when we do that hip hinge, your ribs start to pop out. See how my ribs pop out? Yeah, you want to make sure your belly button stays tucked in, and you want to move your spine as one piece, and then exhale, come back to center. And that is your exercise for today. All right, gang, have a great Monday and a great week. See you soon.